What's happening, financial coaches? Pete here. Hey, want to ask you a quick question. This is actually going to be a really short video, but who's reviewing your calls? Who's reviewing your sessions? And it's one of these things where, especially when you're an independent practitioner, this is probably not going to be as easy as if you are on a team of coaches, those types of things. But, being on a team has its advantages. One, you can refer out to people, you can kind of match participants up with coaches that have a specialty in their field. But the problem is when you're on your own, who is kind of quality assurance checking your calls? So for me, I would listen to recordings of calls and we would disclose that, and you may want to put that in your contract too, that maybe calls can be recorded, but your information stays private, and the thing about it is it's not just for you, one, to make sure that you're doing things right or giving the right information, but it's also to help your clients get the best coach possible in you, right? So making sure that your information is good and that you are learning and that you are getting answers to questions and that you are being shown things that you might have missed in the session, right? It's really easy to answer the question that's presented. For example, what's a Roth IRA, and answer that. But sometimes, and where I think the master coaching comes into play, is what is underneath that question, right? And maybe it's just, hey, I want to save more for retirement. That's good. But maybe it's, hey, I've heard that also I can take my cost basis out of our Roth IRA or my contributions out and maybe use that for emergencies or college savings or something like that too. So, right. So the mastering of the financial coaching is important, and to expand yourself is really important. And these are not things that the client sees, but it's stuff that you want to work on. So how do you do it as an independent practitioner? Well, it's probably a little challenging. And like I said, in one way, you could probably record your Zoom calls or your phone calls and maybe go over those with another coach. Even if that coach is at your level, if they're a peer, something like that, it's probably okay, because now you just have a second set of eyes or second set of ears listening in on things and giving you some feedback. If you can find someone who's been in the industry longer to review some of these things, even better. That's a great way to kind of get people who might just be able to give you some really interesting nuggets, some really interesting tips that help you up your game. The other thing you could do is just like debrief or mastermind, get a group of coaches, those types of things. You don't have to bring a recording per se, but maybe you bring your notes, maybe you write down a few questions, or maybe you give a little synopsis. I call them war stories. Sometimes it's just fun to get together and kind of talk about, hey, what you're seeing and some of the specific topics that are coming up, or some of the tendencies that people might have, and kind of talk through what might be appropriate for them. So who's reviewing your calls? Who's reviewing your meetings? Who's reviewing your notes? Who's helping you make sure that you're being compliant, that you're being accurate, that you're being helpful, that you're being motivating, right? All of these things. Sometimes when you work on your own and you don't have any accountability to anyone, it just is easy to fall into the trap of kind of just doing enough, right? Just doing the bare minimum. So I don't want you to do that. If you can find someone who's going to be the peer, the accountability partner for you, someone who's going to be the trainer, the mentor, the coach for you, even better. So just think about that. Who's reviewing your calls, and see if you can find an answer. That's it. I'll see you later.